Carmen Romero Sanchez. Here I am with Claire Sen, that is from Jane Austen, Lost in France. I am from El Sitio de Jane, or Salon de Té de Jane Austen. And I think that maybe because you are here, the French one, not me, I'm Spanish, it's clear because of my accent, that you can explain us where we are.
We are in Petit Palais, Paris, which is one of the, I think it's my favorite museum in Paris. Yeah, because it's not very famous, so you don't have many tourists everywhere, and you've got plenty of beautiful arts like English paintings.
Yes, this one that we have maybe I'm wrong with my pronunciation.
Yeah.
I really love Matadema, but we have also
Waterhouse.
Exactly. And well, they are not exactly the period of Jane Austen. They are English, they are beautiful, they have, I don't know, maybe a little bit of the spirit, no? Of the themes that we have in Jane Austen. And we wanted to start, or our idea is that in this conference, that is, I think that we call it Hola Mademoiselle Austen. The idea is that we are going to present you a little bit of Paris, and then we are going to speak about the differences between the Spanish or Spanish-speaking units, Janeites, and those that are from French-speaking ones. And here, at least, we would like to make a little bit of presentation of what we do or what we don't do. Okay. As I have said, my name is Carmen. And I run a website that is called El Sitio de Jane Austen with my sister Almudena. It's a site that we created 22 years ago. It looks like we are very old, but you know, we were in the early internet. And after creating the Sitio de Jane Austen, that was like some kind of, a little bit like your encyclopedia that you have just published, but in Spanish and for the website. We created El Salon de Té de Jane Austen, that it was a forum, and now, you know, we have different social networks, mainly Instagram and so. And here, what we try to do is to unite all the Spanish-speaking people, no matter if you are in Spain or if you are in America or you are anywhere. And of course, we also, because I'm here in France and because we are very open-minded, we speak also English, we speak a little bit of French, and we are very happy to share our love for Jane Austen. And maybe, Claire, that is your turn.
So, my name is Claire, and I am on social medias with Jane Austen Lost in France on Facebook. I think it's like you, maybe 12 years or 13 years, I'm not sure.
In our case, it's a little bit more, but...
Yeah, okay. And I am on
fine.
Instagram too with Jane Austen France now, and I've just wrote a book with my friend Gwen. It's Jane Austen on a visual encyclopedia, because you can find it very soon in English. For the moment, it is still in French. It's, I think it's really big, because we never had something like this in France about Jane Austen, made by French people, I mean. The first part is about Jane Austen's life and family and connections and everything about Jane Austen, in fact. Second part is about the books and the writings, and the last part is about the museum, the festivals, and everything you can do about Jane Austen or visit or see everywhere in the world.
Yeah. I can say already that I have seen it, and it's really interesting. It's a really interesting book. I wish that it would be very soon in Spanish for our Spanish-speaking friends. Really, it's like, you know, a really visual encyclopedia, and personally, I really like it very much. So maybe we can do I was going to speak almost in French, a little round, okay? And then we will speak much more things about Jane Austen in French, in Spanish, and of course, speaking in English. Well, here we are in the garden of the Petit Palais, and what we have not said you before, it was that today is a very special day. Not only because it's the
Bastille Day.
It's Bastille Day. Yeah. It's 14th of July. It's the French national, how would you say, celebration day.
Wait.
Yeah. Okay, so it's like much more special and all that that we are putting the video in Paris in the day that is Bastille Day, and well, I don't know if you want to say something much more about this garden, about this place before.
Yeah, this place is very special. It's one of the first museums in Paris, built as a museum, not a castle or not a
Chateau, no?
Yeah,
Like you
not a
say.
mansion, not
Yeah.
a house before.
Yeah.
It's really a museum, and it's really a Parisian museum. And if you see inside, the story of Paris
Yeah.
is painting on the wall and the ceilings. So it's very interesting, and it's for me it's really the most beautiful museum in Paris.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So
Yeah.
when you come to Paris, you have to come here. Not only the Tour Eiffel, not only La Concorde, not only Champs-Élysées.
And it's free of charge.
Ah, yeah, it's free.
it's
So
free.
that's a good
And
one.
we've got a wonderful cafe just over here. The garden in winter also, when it's sunny, it's very, very nice.
Hello again. Okay, now what we are going to show you, okay, apart of speaking about Jane Austen in French, in Spanish, and of course speaking in English, is the different bookshops that we have here in English in Paris. And here we are in the first one in Rue Rivoli, next to the Louvre, is Smith & Sons.
Yeah, it's the biggest one we have in Paris, and not the oldest one. This one is opened in 1870, but 2 years ago, because of the Brexit, it's now an independent bookshop. So it's not W.H. Smith like in England, it's Smith and Son.
Hello, now we are here in Gallieni. That is another English bookshop here in Paris, and it's the first English bookshop that was established in Paris in 1801. You know, when there was a moment in which English and French, well, you were not very good, in good terms. But in that period, I think that everyone had problems. I'm going to say also the Spanish with the French and everyone. So, but this is not the place where it was established in that year. This was not placed here when it was opened at the beginning of the 19th century. When was this established here in this place?
This one is 1856. And they are selling French books and English books.
Hello, now we are here in the Abbey Bookshop. That is a Canadian bookshop that it was founded by Brian, that came from Toronto to Paris in the 90s.
90s, yes.
Yeah, well, it's a very English bookshop in the sense that you will find all kinds of books, but they are in English. You will find literature from everywhere, and not only English one or American one or Canadian one, but also from the French, but they are always in English. And also I think that the good thing here is that you have a lot of offers second-hand, and it's a little, you know, the spirit that you are in a really bookshop, you know, second-hand and all that.
Here we are. It's the really famous Shakespeare and comedy bookshop in Paris. It's an American bookshop. It's a long story, but the first bookshop was in the 6th arrondissement in 1990, but this one opened in 1951, and the actual owner is the daughter of the original one. She's Sylvia Whitman.
And you have to wake up very early to come here because there is a big queue. So if you want to see the bookshop or if you want to buy,
because you can see this bookshop in many films or
like Midnight
TV
in Paris,
shows.
like for example, yeah.
Hello again.
Here we are. We are in this lovely place that is Claire's place, her house, where we have wonderful Jane Austen things. Okay, and we are going to finally speak about Jane Austen because we have shown you the different bookshops. We have shown you a beautiful, beautiful Paris, and now it's time to talk about Jane Austen because we are in the virtual GenCon. And talking about Jane Austen, my first question, okay, as Spanish that, you know, I'm not French and all that, I would like to know how the French people got to know Austen. How that happened.
So the first translation in French was Pride and Prejudice, but only bits in a review from Switzerland, and it was in 1813. The second one was Sense and Sensibility. Also, I think it was by the famous, translation from Isabelle de Montaulieu.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to speak about her?
Yeah, well, okay, I'm not French, I'm not from Switzerland, but I know this story well because I adore it when I got to know it, looking for French translations of Jane Austen and Isabelle de Montaulieu. Well, she not only made the translation, but also she changed the stories. In some cases, like Sense and Sensibility, she didn't like the ending, so she just killed Willoughby's wife, okay, and she made Willoughby with Eliza. So, okay, the daughter of Eliza was no longer, like out of the wedlock. And it was also adapted, I think, from the French sensibilities. I don't know if you know another story of Isabelle de Montaulieu about another book.
Yeah, Persuasion.
Yeah.
But first, I want to say she changed the title also.
Oh.
In France, is Raison et Sentiment, okay? Ou Les deux manières d'aimer. And in Persuasion,
But for
Yeah.
our friends that don't speak French, which means the many of them are.
it's two ways to love.
Okay.
And in Persuasion, Anne is not Anne anymore.
Oh.
She is Alice.
Okay.
We don't know why.
Well, there is another story like that people changing names, but I don't know maybe if I'm going to speak in advance, because in the Persuasion adaptation for television of 1972, also Frederick Wentworth, he moved his name to Michael Trent. But okay, I don't want to advance the story. I prefer to hear much more about something more about the French, introduction of Jane Austen.
So let's talk about Emma, because maybe it's my favorite novel for the moment.
For the moment,
Okay.
it changed.
Yeah. So Emma was translated in French very quickly, because we know that Emma, the real date of Emma is December 1815. In the bookshop,
Yeah.
it was in 1816, and in France, it was also in 1816. So it was very, very quick, and it was a huge success.
Mm-hmm.
And the title, La Nouvelle Emma,
Okay.
ou les caractères anglais du siècle.
That means
Yeah,
again,
the new Emma. It's like La Nouvelle Héloïse
Okay.
from Rousseau.
Ah, maybe.
Yeah.
So it was coming
Yeah.
from that. Okay,
Yeah.
somebody thought about. Okay.
And les caractères anglais du siècle, English, I don't know.
Personality. Let's
Yeah,
say.
personalities,
personality.
yes, of the century.
Okay. Yeah. So we had already like the cliche or the different, cliches about the English people and all that. Okay, so that's interesting. And was this also bits, or it was the full?
No, it was the full novel.
Okay, good.
Yeah, there was Sense and Sensibility first, full
Yeah.
novel, and then Emma.
Okay, good. So you were lucky people. You know that, no?
Yeah.
Because you were in the 19th century and you were already having Jane Austen, not like the Spanish-speaking people. Because in Spain, the story was like intellectual people, people that had access to English books and all that, or to French translation, because that was also very not natural that you received the book from France, because it was like in the 19th century, it was like the origin of culture, and then it was translated into Spanish, no? So the thing is that intellectual people already knew about Jane Austen. You have wonderful writers like Emilia Pardo Bazán talking about Jane Austen. Yeah, and we are talking here about the second part of the 19th century. But really, you didn't get any book of Jane Austen in Spanish till 1918. Okay? So even, there is this also wonderful writer that is Miguel de Unamuno, and he wrote for I think for La Nación Argentina, that is it's like a newspaper from Buenos Aires, and he even dedicated, he had like a fixed column where he was talking about different topics, and he had 3 times he spoke about Jane Austen, that of course he put it as Juana Austen, that is the translation. Of course, thank God, we don't use Juana Austen anymore. And they knew, but the rest of people didn't know. So in 1918, there was the first translation, of Pride and Prejudice. Yeah, it was really late. This was done by Jordan Durries. It was presented in Barcelona, but it was not printed. It was printed, the first one, I think, if I'm not wrong, it was Persuasion, that it was translated by Manuel Ortega y Gasset, that is the brother of a very known philosopher in Spain, that is Ortega y Gasset. And after that, it was Northanger Abbey, that was translated by Isabel de Oyarzábal, that it was a translator, intellectual woman, and all that. And I feel very proud of her also, because she's from the same place that I am from, that is from Malaga. And after that, we got finally this Pride and Prejudice by Jordan Durries. And then we have to wait several years after the Civil War in order to get like more popular literature, and because Jane Austen was safe because it was a typical female literature, then it started to be more and more printed like a classic. And also in Argentina, in Mexico. So from the 40s onwards, she was more and more known.
Yeah. So I think maybe the most interesting thing about French
Yeah.
people and Jane Austen is the fact that French is the first language. She was translated in French first than any language.
Yeah.
So it's a particular something very special between France and Jane Austen.
Yeah.
And we know for sure that there was a special bond between the two countries because of the cousin Eliza.
Yes.
She was not French, but she used to live in Paris,
Yes.
and she spoke French.
Yeah.
And we know that Jane Austen spoke French
Yeah.
very fluently. She was reading French, she was writing French, so
Okay.
it's nice. It's nice to know that.
No, it's nice. It's better. You know, the only bond that I know, and link from Jane Austen and Spain, it was one of his brothers. He was visiting La Coruña in the north of Spain, and he said that, Spanish people eat octopus.
Was it Edward?
I don't remember which brother, but not the same cool thing that with Eliza, accusing Eliza and all that.
I think it may be Edward because he made Le Grand Tour. He visited Europe, many countries.
But I think that it was not. It was one of the C brothers.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, because it's
or
a
maybe
C.
Charles.
Charles is probably.
Or
I
Frank.
cannot. Probably, some of the people that are watching us are telling, Carmen, how can you not remember that? Sorry, I'm only human.
Yeah, so
and they didn't like
it's
octopus,
Frank
and that's
or,
what.
or Charles.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a cool bond, especially when you think, in a period, when Jane Austen was living, this was this love-hate thing with the French, because and
the translation were during her lifetime.
Yeah.
So it's very precious for us. Yeah.
So that's cool. But what happens now with the French, or when was Jane Austen popular all this time, or was she especially popular after a certain moment?
Mm-hmm.
What
That's
do
a
you
good
think?
question. I think she was really popular all the time, but maybe after the BBC adaptation, it was worse.
Yeah, worse I wouldn't say. It was better. I don't know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Austen mania and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in our case, I know that Spanish television used to do adaptations. They adapted.
Yeah,
Pride and
you've got
Prejudice.
that. We don't have any French adaptation. You've got Spanish adaptations.
And we have Spanish adaptations. I know that in America maybe they do some radio novelas, that is by radio, but as TV series we have in Spain in the 60s, Pride and Prejudice, that was lost because they used to take
Can
the
you
same
say
type.
the title in Spanish?
Yes, Orgullo y Prejuicio. Yeah. So it was the first one, but the tape was lost, not found, never in the archives of Televisión Española. Then after that, you have Emma, that I love it.
Emma,
yeah. And Emma is available on internet, free for everyone to see it, with the Northanger Abbey.
Subtitles or not?
I think that no subtitles, or maybe just Spanish subtitles, I'm not sure. We have also Northanger Abbey. That is not so good in the sense that the plot is totally changed, and the clothes are not very much Regency. Emma's clothes, they are Regency. Okay, they have this certain, taste of Spain, the stories. But in the case of Northanger Abbey, it's like a crime story, and you are like, why did you change?
And did you see the Italian adaptation of Pride and Prejudice? They changed it for more, Italian style.
Yeah, that happened too.
They changed the name of that.
Yes, I Orgullo y Prejudicio thing. Sorry, the Italians that are listening to me. And yes, because sometimes you when you are doing some local, there is also some Dutch versions, and in this you give the local flavor, no? In the case of Emma, it's very evident. I love it, but sometimes maybe for some people they will say, well, it's too Spanish. In the case of Northanger Abbey, I don't like it because they changed totally the plot. And then we have Persuasion with this Michael Trent
name,
changed name. But okay, it's not so dynamic like Emma, but it's not bad.
But it's old, in fact.
They are old, yes. They are from 1977, 78, and mistake myself. 67, 68, and 72.
Okay.
And after that, people were like, okay, it's better if we produce our local writers or our, you know, Spanish-speaking writers, and we buy directly to BBC. And you know, Pride and Prejudice from the 80s, it was shown, and
maybe that's the reason why we don't have any adaptation in France, because we have so many writers.
yes.
You know, like Alexandre Dumas, Victor Hugo, Georges Sand. I don't know.
But we have also a lot of writers. But I think that at least in Spanish-speaking countries, we like also to take, you know, English, French, Italian, Russians. We like very much to take from them.
I don't know many
adapt.
adaptations from British or American books in French. I don't know many. There are some.
Yeah.
I know one by Daphné du Maurier.
Yeah.
It's a French film for TV. But as a period drama film, I mean.
Yeah. Now that you're saying that, the one of the actors that appear in Emma and is Henry Tierney in Northanger Abbey. He was the Count of Monte Cristo in the 60s. And this guy, he was chased in the streets because everybody was in love with him. So yes, we
It
have
was the local Colin Firth.
Yeah, he was the local Colin Firth, this gentleman in that moment. Talking about that, we didn't have like properly BBC series. We got to know much more Jane Austen thanks to the Austen mania in the 90s with Sense and Sensibility, with Emma, for example, and then later in 2005 with Pride and Prejudice with Keira Knightley. And there, you know, thanks to that, plus having internet.
And maybe the film Becoming Jane?
No, it was not so popular. No.
No.
But at the end of the day, it was thanks to these films that, you know, we start to have like many editions of books, of the letters of Jane Austen, and then it became popular and also
Translated in Spanish?
Translated in Spanish, yeah, for example, by Alba Editorial, that is a very big publishing house.
And can you find easily original books, I mean in English, in Spain?
Yes, it's easy.
Yeah?
It's easy. Yeah, it's
Easy
easy
to
for
find?
us. Yes,
Okay.
especially in touristic areas where we have British people, like Costa del Sol or in Alicante, in this area. Okay, but in any case, you know, and with this I would like to maybe close a little bit about the introduction of the Spanish, is that especially it was the books that were appearing in Spanish, the movies, and then later the series, because there was a lot of DVD production, you know, releases, but especially it was internet.
Okay. And do you have Spanish writers writing about Jane Austen?
Yes, we have Spanish writers writing about Jane Austen. We have some biographies, and if you allow me, I'm going to show you a couple of books.
Okay.
Well, as I have told you, we have different books written. We have biographies made by Spanish people, sequels, different variations, critical work. For example, in critical work, I'm going to highlight a couple of books. This is from a teacher, you know, that is called, her name is Inger Engsbit, and she has a book here that is called Learn to Write Like with Jane Austen and Maud Montgomery.
Is it
you know?
university?
Yes, university,
Okay.
yeah. And it's about the positive and what you can learn if you try to write like these two writers, you know, M. Montgomery of Anne of Green Gables and Jane Austen. This is an interesting one. And another one that I have brought with me and that is interesting because it was released last year, it was Las Mujeres en Jane Austen, The Woman in Jane Austen, that is like an essay or different essays on the different characters that you are going to find in Jane Austen books, in the woman, no? And the different type of woman that you're going to find.
Very interesting. Yeah.
That is a very interesting one because, you know, there is no heroine repeated in each Jane Austen book. Now, if we move away from critical work, last year also, Elena Tour, she made another that is in El Corazón de Jane. That
She's
is
a novelist?
She's a novelist and she's in the heart of Jane. And she tells an story about Jane Austen having to return to her school to help, okay? And she's not the main character, and she's going to tell different stories through the pupils that are in the school. And you will see like some kind of, you know, wink to the different Jane Austen novels. So this one is I really like it, this one. And talking about, like much more like sequels and all that. Also, I would like to, but probably you know it also, and I think that is a cool thing for us, is Chronique de Pemberley or Gente de Pemberley or Pemberley People, because it's from Marie-Laure Sevier, that is a writer and also a very good and close friend. And she wrote the book in Spanish. It's a sequel to Pride and Prejudice. And then she published it in French because she's French in reality.
I've
But
read
she,
it.
yeah,
It's good.
yeah. So I think that maybe, unites us more.
Yeah. So in French, we've got this one. It's a very nice one because it's for kids.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of book when you have to find a character,
Okay, like maybe What is Waldo?
Yeah.
I have this one.
Yeah,
I really
this
like
one
this
is
one.
nice.
Yeah.
And it's really,
It's really
it's the drawings and the story as well. You can find all the, events that you can find in Pride and Prejudice. And the characters are very nice. And I think it's from the BBC production. BBC.
A little bit,
Yeah.
I think, but okay, I don't complain about that.
You've got the comics, 3 volumes
Yeah,
by Aurore.
yeah.
It's very nice, and it's a bit like manga, I think. the
Yes, a little
characters.
bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
It has that style. Yeah.
It's good for the kids too.
Mm. Yeah.
So it's a version for children of Pride and Prejudice. And fun fact is, you have little games at the end, which is nice and funny. And we have this one. I think it's a masterpiece. This one.
This is a wonderful thing.
It's
Yeah.
really beautiful. It's a writer. It's Fabrice Collin. He imagined Jane Austen in a whole museum,
Yeah.
surrounded by her characters,
Yeah.
and
And it's very visual. This is from Nathalie Novi.
Nathalie Novi. Yeah, she's a really good artist and painter,
Yeah.
and very, very fond about Jane Austen, everything about Jane Austen. So she sometimes do exhibition of her artwork.
I saw an exhibition of these paintings, but I think that it was before COVID times. So yeah.
And she's making dresses as well.
Yeah.
She's painting on dresses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, okay, from the illustration points of view, you have very good editions. I mean, in Spanish ones, we have a lot of critical and, translations and all that, but we don't have so many.
I think this one is a translation in English, this one. It's very good.
Yeah, it should be, at least.
So this one is by Letty Aniel, and it's a kind of, I don't know, time traveler story maybe, yeah. Where Jane Austen is in our world,
Okay.
and she discovered that she's very famous here, so it's nice for her.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And the very first part is about is a kind of biography.
Okay.
Yeah, very nice. So 9 years ago,
Yeah.
nine
already.
you wrote this book,
Yeah.
which is about everything's in Spanish.
Yeah.
of Jane Austen.
Yeah, but the world, yeah.
Everything. Yeah. So the translations, the university works,
Yeah.
studies
Yeah.
from Spain and also from South America.
Yes, from look at what we call is Spanish America or Hispanoamerica. Okay, and about the work, how it evolved and all that. And I hope that very soon I will be able to update it and it will be available again.
Okay.
Yeah, but I also have another thing here. That is your book. So we have discussed already. And as you can see, it's a very thick book. It's full of things, and it's about a Jane Austen encyclopedia.
Yeah,
It's not about French or whatever. It's about Jane Austen itself, for the Janeites, for the Austenitas, for the fans, so they can know her, they can know their work, they can know their world and how this world is also currently here.
Yeah. So it's written by Gwen Giré.
Yeah, and Gwen and Claire.
It's 1 year of research. It's plenty of writing, dreaming about Jane Austen every day, and traveling also. If you want to travel in Jane Austen country, just buy this book.
Well, but let's talk about promotions. Maybe we should talk about curious things. And I have over here a very curious thing that I love it. That is this little poster. Okay, this little poster that especially the 1995 fans will be very happy to read it. There was one day in which this poster started to appear in the city of Sevilla, in south of Spain, and people was like, what is happening here? Why is Colin Firth as Darcy? And why they wanted,
It was in the streets?
Yeah, in the streets.
Really?
And it was a promotion of a shop. Okay, I'm going to say I'm not receiving money from them, but I have to confess that they are very wonderful people and they have wonderful products that are to buy their, British style, and it's called Super Britannico, and they were promoting some agenda, related to Colin Firth. And it was a promotion from them, and I really like this promotion, and they are really nice people, and you can even take your tea and scones right now, and they are really near a palace that is called Palacio de Dueñas. So if you go to the south of Spain, you have to go to Sevilla.
Okay.
And also to Malaga, of course.
Okay, sure.
But let's talk about other things, about things that we do, the fans. In Spain, at least, since 2012, 2013, it was, we have our website, we have our forum, and we decided to do real things, not only to unite each other, with other people, with other Janeites, through the internet, but also in real life. So we made, for example, a picnic in El Retiro. That is a very big park in the heart of Madrid.
Was it a costume picnic?
Yeah, it was a costume picnic about Pride and Prejudice, and it was, for example, the first time that we were meeting the different members of our forum. So it was really a nice thing to dream about, to do, to put real faces to the people and to have a wonderful time. And we started to repeat it. We repeated in Barcelona, we have repeated in Granada, in Malaga. Each time that we try, normally here in the website that we have in our Salon de Té, we try or to do picnics or we can do like some kind of meetings. For example, last year we did what we called Love and Friendship. Okay, this one. That is one of the labels that we created for the different guests that came. Here we have like a first part of speeches about translations, about the translation, for example, of the Janeites of Rudyard Kipling, about the translation, about the different books that were in the period of Jane Austen with the professor Juan Jesús Daró, and also about fashion in the 19th century.
So it's popular?
Yeah, it's a popular thing. You get like 50 people that are over there, yeah. So this is the kind of events that we do from the Salon de Té, but there are other events in Spain, a lot of book clubs, a lot of, there has been also like some Jane Austen symposiums in universities. For example, this one that was in San Pablo Ceo in Madrid, there is even a book. I was part of this one. Also, meeting people is good because you meet people that you have met before or that you have not met before, but you knew online, or it's like you create like some kind of brotherhood or
A
sisterhood.
community.
Yes, a community. Yeah.
In France, we've got forums.
Yeah.
The Inet Lambton is a good one.
Yeah.
Whoopsie Daisy, another one. And Facebook pages or Instagram, but not really a real association. You know?
Look, I think that maybe there is not a real association, or maybe associations, could do this
just
job
a
as on
group
the web.
of friends.
Like more like a group of friends, but in any case, you only need people speaking about Jane Austen, and you can take your tea or do your picnic and have fun. I think that at least for me, it's something that is part of my memories of the work that I have done with my sister, of the friends that I have met there, and for example, I am meeting here in France.
That's great.
I think that we have shown to our friends a lot of things that we do in Spain, in Spanish, in France, in French, because I also know that it's not only French people, but also there's people coming from Belgium, there's people coming from Switzerland, that they are French speakers, and also that they participate in the different forums. And maybe, we have discussed many things, we have presented Paris, beautiful, and we have presented the bookshops, and I think that unfortunately it's time to say goodbye. So I don't know. I have been speaking a lot about the different meetings that we have, made in Spain. Maybe I would like to. I know that you don't have so many meetings or picnics in France for the moment, but I would like to hear like some stories. You as a Frenchite that you have been living.
I think one of the great souvenirs for me is the trip in Bath with friends.
I have been in Bath, but
Yeah.
have you been in the festival?
Yeah, it was during the festival.
Oh.
Yeah, it was 2 years ago.
Wow.
And, dresses.
No, I don't know. I have never been there, so you have to tell us. Well, tell me and tell the rest of people that have never been there.
It was like a dream. It was like Jane Austen time. It was like Regency time, and it was, we had really.
You have you participated also in the parade, because I have seen the
yeah,
photos. And
we did. Yeah,
Okay.
it was great, and just walking around the streets, and it was the ball. We didn't attend the ball because it was a bit expensive,
Okay.
and you need to be a good dancer, I think.
Well,
I don't know. I guess I don't know.
we have to, put the correct dancing slippers. It's said. And
Anyway, it was
something
just
like
great
that.
to be there, and to, people
Imagine.
are coming from all around the world, and it's nice to meet people.
I imagine, because I have been in Bath, but not in the and what I saw, I love it, and
It's
and
like
being there.
a bit crazy.
Yeah, it's a little bit Austenland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Austenland.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that this is the end of our video.
Yeah.
So it has been a pleasure for me.
Yeah. Thank you, Carmen. Thank you for inviting me.
And
Thank
thanks
you.
to Claire, because
Thank you.
for me it's important, really important, that to share this moment, to share that Jane Austen unite different people with different languages and different cultures, and that that the world is not so separate, crazy as we see maybe in the television, in the news. Is that there is place for hope, there is place for friendship, and there is place for love.
Yeah. Love and friendship.
Yeah. Okay. Well, goodbye.
Bye.